recognize the treasure they have. We have a big issue around migration, so what we try to do is provide ways for people to not feel the need to migrate. This is them in a workshop learning how to take the herbs that they grow all the time and turning it into tea so that they have other ways to create more income for themselves. Another thing that we can look up to here with the Maoris is that there is no doubt that you're Maori. In Peru, yes, there's a lot of doubt as to whether you're indigenous or not. Many people do not recognize their indigenous identity, which is why we have Kalpaiwarmi. Kalpaiwarmi means courageous woman, strong woman. It's a festival that honors and celebrates indigenous women and our own indigenous identity. This is very important in Peru because we have so many years, so many generations, like all of you, of marginalization and oppression. But over in Peru, this has created a denial of our own identity because different language, different words have come in to take over our identity, like mestizo or campesino, campesina. So for us, having a type of festival like this, which brings in artists who recognize their indigenous identity and are from Lima, from an urban area, is eye-opening for many youth. And we connect it to an indigenous forum where we bring women from different communities to speak about what's happening, the frontline issues. Okay, so now to really speak about why I'm here. So young farmers, of course, as everybody knows, is our future. We, unfortunately, in Peru, as in many places, have a big problem with not having many young farmers staying as young farmers. Of course, there's so much abandonment of farmlands, farming practices, etc. So the average age is about 55 years old. Migration is a symptom of inequality between the urban and the rural areas. So of course, people want to leave. If you don't have access to education, health, even basic transportation, many people see that the city is their future. Of course, we all know that the real future is in the hands of farmers. Industrial agriculture is continuously damages our environment. The UN recognizes that supporting small-scale farmers is the only way to balance the issues of climate change. And this is part of why we are addressing these issues of our young farmers. Literally, we are in the precipice of a food crisis, and not just in Peru, but globally. So we go back to the inequality issues as to why so many people are leaving their communities. Of course, if you don't have access to transportation or to even roads, how are you going to get your products out to the market? Of course, if you don't have access to education, then how are you even going to learn about what opportunities you have outside of your community? And of course, if you don't have access to health care, then how are you going to be able to address just basic health issues that come to you in your community and the income sources? Even to have, let's say the road gets built, how are you going to have a car to be able to get your product out to the cities if you don't have enough income to be able to purchase these things? I mean, it's a very long list of reasons as to why people are stuck because of these inequalities. So this is a picture of Lima. When people migrate from their communities to Lima, nobody's arriving to, if you've ever been to Lima, Miraflores, San Isidro, the areas which are very clean and pretty. You often arrive to these areas which are the Pueblo Jóvenes. These are the outskirts of Lima, where water is more expensive here than it is in the center, where all the money is concentrated, because these are settlements. So people leave big green pastures, healthy, clean water for this, because they feel there's no other options. So yes, loss of land, home, community, and family is one of the biggest losses. Then you have the loss, of course, of knowledge and the practices of native food systems and seeds when people are migrating and leaving their communities. And then the loss of identity. Lima is not hospitable to keeping your indigenous identity in any way, shape, or form. You cannot wear your traditional clothing without having so much more discrimination. It's already so difficult to arrive in Lima. And when you have something external that separates you, then that makes it even more. You can't even go to the bank and be treated normal. I mean, these are things that here maybe happened many years ago, and in Peru is very much alive. So what happens next, of course, is people deny their identity. They don't speak their language anymore. Wearing traditional clothes definitely doesn't happen. It's very intimidating, I have to say, even if somebody feels very empowered and strong in their identity. Even if I wear my pollera, many of you saw me with my pollera yesterday in a bank, the treatment is just so terrible. So it's natural to not want to put yourself in a situation that slows everything down for you. So loss of identity is intrinsically connected with with not having access to finding a way to being able to sustain yourself as a farmer, because you go to the city and it's gone. So the response to all of this is a young farmers movement. Why is it that people are leaving? For all of the reasons I mentioned. So what are we trying to do is we're creating a national movement, a gathering to bring together at-risk farmers from all over the country, from 24 departments, to discuss these issues. What are the main problems that they are having? What are the reasons that they are leaving? And how can we come up with active solutions so people don't feel the need to leave? Of course, the solution is in our roots, and that's what keeps us bound to the land and to one another. So we will be discussing also about the importance of being able to reconnect and reclaim our indigenous identity. So last year, we were very fortunate. Sapichay was invited to participate in Terra Madre, in the Slow Food Conference, where I suggested the possibility of putting together a young farmers gathering of all of the Americas to address these issues, because as I mentioned, this is not something unique to Peru. So this year, we are having the national gathering, and then the following year, we are presenting the results. All the participating countries will be doing their national gathering as well. Next year, we'll present all the results of the common challenges for young farmers, and we aren't only concentrating on at-risk farmers, but we're also inviting urban farmers and actually successful farmers, so that they can be an example to at-risk farmers that it is possible to be a farmer in 2017 and thrive. And then the following year, we will be having the gathering of all the different countries and the different farmers representing all of the Americas to discuss solutions that can be implemented to prevent this crisis, this food crisis of losing young farmers. Of course, the impact that we seek, that we hope to get, is that we can really change the future of food systems, of seeds, to keep young farmers on the land, to not have them feel the need that they need to leave the land, leave farming, so that they can have a healthy life. Food sovereignty is indigenous sovereignty for us. We will be inviting the Ministry of Education, of Agriculture, to this gathering that we're having this year, so that they can be invited to be part of the solutions. Whether they decide to participate in coming up with the solutions is not the only goal that we have. It is an invitation that we are extending to them, but recognizing that we'll be forming networks that haven't existed yet, which is networks of indigenous young farmers, of young women farmers, connections that once they're made, it's going to provide more strength. Something that was very amazing that happened while I was in Terra Madre was there was a farmer that we work with that Sapichay was able to take to Terra Madre, and to awaken to the realization that there are so many indigenous communities and so many small-scale farmers that are working together to find a way to fight for their rights and for people who are really staying on the land and are proud to stay on the land, changed his perspective completely, went back to the community. And the community has changed completely as well in terms of how active they are. We want to provide this for the young farmers. We know that connecting them to everybody else helps them understand that they're by no means alone. And so this is what we're trying to do. We're literally trying to create a wave that is going to be able to change the future of our food systems. Sulpai, which is thank you. And any questions? Thank you very much for your time.